all of us bring our voices to Washington. Thank you. Listen, we can't do this without you. And you know, and I say this is true, when I get around and talk to people in Nevada, it's not my voice I'm bringing to Washington in the fight, it's all of ours. And we're doing this together. You know, people ask me, why do you get up and why do you do this every day? Well, there's two words, Donald Trump. I'll tell you what, it is time to fight for our country. It is time to fight for our families. It is time to fight for hard-working people that sometimes just need a break. Sometimes we need to tear down those barriers. And there's times when we need to fight to keep jobs here in the United States. And there are many things that we need to continue to take on. I was fortunate enough to be the Attorney General here for 8 years. And during that time, I made it my mission to fight for some of the most vulnerable people in our state. And now it's time to take that fight to Washington, right? You heard, I took on the big banks. We had a problem here, we still do, with the sexual exploitation of our kids at the hands of pimps. So I was one of the first attorneys general in the country. It passed a law here in the state of Nevada to make sex trafficking a crime, to hold those pimps accountable, but most importantly, to start putting our victims on a pathway to becoming survivors. And we did that working together. I was in a unique position as AG to be able to introduce legislation during my 8 years in office, and I introduced over 40 bills that passed out of our legislature with the support of Democrats and Republicans. Because that's how you solve problems in this country. Start working together, and that's what we need to do. You heard a little bit about my story, but let me tell you this. My Mexican-American grandmother worked her entire life here in Las Vegas. She was a sales clerk, and she worked at a local store called Von Tobel's. And when she retired, you know what her retirement was? Social Security. And there are many people like that across this country that are fighting just to get by. That paycheck doesn't go as far. And so we need to ensure we're protecting their rights in the United States Congress. And this seat here in Nevada is the pathway for the Democrats to take back that majority. And think about this, a majority that will decide for decades to come who sits on the United States Supreme Court, right? There was a woman I met by the name of Roxana, and she's a home health care worker. And she has 2 daughters, adult daughters, that have special needs. And every morning she gets up, she dresses them, feeds them, helps them get on their way to their special education classes. She gets into her car, she drives across to Henderson, and works as a home health care worker, does the same thing for her clients, and then comes home at night and starts all over, puts her daughters to bed, and starts again the next morning. You know what she makes? Minimum wage. In Nevada, if you're making minimum wage, you're making $15,000 a year. She has no health care benefits. She pays for her own gas. And when I asked her, how can I help you in the United States Senate? What can I do to make your life a little bit easier? You know what she told me? She said, I just want a little bit more money in my paycheck so I can spend more time at home with my daughters. Because she is working more than 40 hours. She will work as many hours as they will let her, just so she can care for her daughters. Those are the families that I see here in Nevada. This is what this fight is about. I don't have to tell all of you. We know it. And when the Koch brothers come into Nevada and try to buy this election for my opponent, telling all of these horrible lies and spending almost $30 million, and there's a reason why. Because we know they're corporate polluters. They care about giving big tax breaks and subsidies to big corporations and big oil, instead of those same tax breaks to working families and ensure there's affordable health care and access, paid family leave, and equal pay for equal work. That's what this fight is about. And that's why I get up every day, and that's why we are going to do this together. Right? Because the Koch brothers can come in here and try to buy this election, but what they don't have is all of us. They don't have the masses. They don't have the grassroots. They don't have the determination and the grit that we know that makes America great. Our diversity is our strength. Look at this multicolored fabric of America. That's what this is about. And we don't let anybody build walls. We don't let anybody divide us. And we continue to fight because this is worth fighting for. So I want to thank you all for coming to Nevada. If you're coming from other states, thank you for all of my Nevadans that are here. We are going to do this together. And let me leave one final thing. If you knock on a door and somebody's not sure about all the negative ads that they're throwing out there, which are false and distortions, there is a site people can go to called factcheckheck.com. My opponent's name is Congressman Joe Heck. Factcheckheck.com, send them there, because the truth is there, and they can decide for themselves. At the end of the day, you guys are going to turn this state blue. You are going to make this happen. We are going to not only put Hillary in the White House, we are going to give her a Democratic majority in the Senate that she can work with to protect working families and continue to fight for all of us. And one final thing, which I will never forget, and I carry with me every day that I walk through the doors of the Attorney General, what I do today. My grandfather came from Chihuahua, Mexico. He met my grandmother in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and when my father was 5, brought them here to Las Vegas. My father was a parking attendant at the old Dunes Hotel and Casino when I was little. My grandfather was a baker, and you heard my grandmother was a sales clerk. They came here because they wanted every opportunity for their families to work hard, make sure their kids had those opportunities to succeed. Because of the courage of my grandfather, the hard work of my parents, my sister and I are the first in our family to graduate from college right here in Nevada. And I tell you that because that's no different than everyone else's story. This is what it's about. This is why I get up and fight every day for families, because we don't shut the door behind us. We continue to tear down those barriers. We continue to fight to ensure everybody has that opportunity to succeed. That's what this fight is about. And I will never forget that. And can you imagine now my grandfather and my grandmother, who have since passed, if they knew that their granddaughter now has the opportunity to be the first Latina ever elected to the United States Senate, what they would be thinking. And that is America. That is the dream we are fighting for, so everybody has that opportunity. Thank you all so much, and let's make this happen. You are going to